The reason I moved to Pennsylvania, I actually opened a map and picked it randomly. I didn't know anything about it. I was living in Maine at the time, and I was dating somebody, and he wanted to move to Boston, I wanted to move to Florida, so we decided to compromise, and literally in the middle was Philly. So we looked at the dot and we were like, I mean, it's urban, so I'm sure there's a hardcore scene there, and so we just kind of ended up here. And you were actually one of the first people I met.
Actually, I was the first person who may have spoke to you. Remember I said you can't park there when you pull in front of Tom's?
Really?
That was me. I don't forget shit.
I just remember, I feel like you slapped somebody until they bled.
Tom.
Yeah.
I did that all the time.
Yeah, that's what I remember. I remember, and that was like one of my first days here, and I was like, oh my god, this is crazy.
All right. So give me the lowdown on Kingdom. When did that start?
That started in 2006. 2006, early summer, we wrote our first demo, and then later, like maybe 2 months later, we did a full US tour. Yeah, and then we just went. We took like a 1 year break, and then we did our last tour. We got back last March, and now we're done. Oh yeah, that was great. I was 12 years old, and I went to see Primus. It was like a big deal because I'm from Maine, so it's like rural, and there weren't a lot of concerts, and yeah, and there a few hardcore kids were standing by the exit door just giving out flyers, and this guy was like, hey, you, and I was like, me? He said, yeah, you. I went over, and he gave me a flyer. He's like, this is a hardcore show, I want to see you there. And I was like, you want to see me there? And I thought that was like an actual personal invitation. I didn't know that he was probably saying that to everyone because I was so young that I was like, I've been personally invited to this thing. I don't want to let him down, I have to go. So like I got permission from my dad, and I got to see, it was like a local band that sounded kind of like Hatebreed. They were called Polyglot. And I went to, yeah, that was my first hardcore show. I was 12, and when I went there and I saw Polyglot play, I was just like, this is it. This is where I belong. This is the most perfect thing I've ever seen. That was it for me. But I remember one of my first shows in Philly, because I was so afraid, and those were like, I feel like violent times in hardcore in general. And then what I'd heard about Philly, I was like, oh my god, this is gonna be terrible. And I saw some dude mosh into some girl, and the girl like slapped him across the face, and I was like, that's weird. And then Joe Hardcore goes over to her, and he was like, did I just see you slap that guy? And she was like, he made her go stand at the back of the show. He was like, go to the back. And she was like, and went back there, and it was just, I was like, wow, this is really weird. Oh yeah, Wisdom in Chains for sure. They were like, definitely, I feel like one of the realest hardcore bands I ever saw from any state and any country, any time really. So I felt like they are like the real deal as far as hardcore goes, and like real dudes who are actually invested in the scene and seem to really stand behind the things they say. They're not just kind of posturing. So I felt really lucky to be able to like be around in a time and a place where that band was like being able to see them all the time and get to know them. I guess it's always hard when I get asked that because I've like never been anything but a girl in hardcore, so I don't know what it would feel like to be something else. Mm-hmm. But I don't know. No, I've always felt really comfortable. I feel like in the rest of the world, I feel really like I'm nothing more than my gender. You know, people just see me as a girl. But in the hardcore scene, I feel like that's the only place on earth where I can go and just like be a hardcore kid. I don't have to be just a girl or whatever I am in my real life. Hardcore is a place where I can just like be a person, and I think that's one of the reasons I always really liked it. I mean, I think that's, for me, one of the first records I bought was like, or two of the first records I bought were Ink and Dagger, Drive the 7-inch wooden stake through my Philadelphia heart. So that like put Philly on the map for me. And then I Hate You, which was like Doylestown. And I didn't know they were a joke band, and I took them really seriously. And I brought their 7-inch into school to some other hardcore kids. I was like, check this out, they're so straight edge, it's awesome. They're like, you know that's a joke, right? And I was like, yeah, totally. It was super embarrassing, but so they were like, Philadelphia was like always a thing for me. So I don't know if maybe it wasn't for other people, but I always knew about it. I also wondered if maybe vampires were real in the city of Philly, like if there were like vampire cults around Ink and Dagger, because I'm like from a really small town in Maine. So it's like, always imagined what big city life might be like, and I was like there's definitely like vampire cults, like Ink and Dagger's a part of, and like crazy violent people like I Hate You and like Floor Punch I kind of associate with. And I was like, do they like walk around in straight edge gangs jumping people? Like that's crazy. But I could tell you a funny, like a very Philadelphia hardcore story.
Tell us.
So when I first moved here, like I didn't know anybody. Like I met you, Chris X, and just a couple other people. And so I was like really eager to make friends. And it was outside the TLA, I met some dude and he was like vegan, you know, like me, and I think he was straight edge too, and I was like, whoa, that's cool, like of course we're gonna eat together, because like that's what vegan straight edge people do. And I was asking about him after, maybe the next day, I was like, yo, what's up with this dude? I won't say his name, but I was like, yo, what's up with this dude? Like, does anyone have his number? I want to hang out with him. And they're like, yeah, I don't know if you want to hang out with that dude. And I was like, he seemed really nice. And he was like, he's also vegan straight edge on top of it, so we've got a lot in common. They were like, yeah, he just got out of prison. And I was like, oh, why was he in prison? And they were like, murder. And I was like, what? And then apparently this guy had been like a racist skinhead and been part of, right before he converted to vegan straight edge, as they told me, him and some other racist skin were at a racist skin party and beat a dude to death with a sledgehammer and then put the body in a shopping cart. Have you heard this story? Put the body in a shopping cart and moved it into a freight elevator, threw a blanket over it, and as I was told, the body was releasing gases and making all this noise, and then they pushed it into a park and left it there. Got caught. He did time in jail. He just got out. He was redoing his whole life. He become vegan straight edge and getting all his racist tattoos covered, but he also still had like a big Klansman tattooed on his back. And they were like, yo, I beat that guy up a bunch back when he was racist. I don't know if you want to mess with him. I don't know if he's going to stick with this vegan straight edge thing. And I was like, I am so out of my like element here. I don't even know who to talk to. This is so nuts. This is Hardcore has been like incredible for putting Philly on the map, making it like almost like a hardcore kid tourist spot, you know. Yeah, I don't know. It's just another great thing to make us like an important part of hardcore here. I think people now, when they think of East Coast hardcore, Philly immediately comes to mind because of that fest. Kingdom's toured internationally a lot, like a lot. We did like 2 Russian tours and lots of Eastern Europe because we had a lot of fun over there. And so people, like, we would go to places that were so far removed from like this country and culture. They'd be like, where are you from? And we'd be like, America. And sometimes that was like all we could say, but sometimes we'd say Philadelphia, and they'd go, is it sunny? We'd be like, yeah. And they'd be like, do you know Joe Hardcore? Yeah, everyone. I'm talking like Croatia, Bulgaria, Russia. It was really weird.